Hey everybody, Dan Wickline here, and we seem to be having a little bit of some technical problems going on. I can't tell if it's my side or if it's Paul's side, so we will find out as we go along. Paul's coming back, so it might be my internet, it might be Paul's internet. I'm not sure, but we're going to get this thing started. And Paul will be joining us in a second. I got somebody watching. So if you are watching and you can see, let me know if this is being sporadic or if it's being smooth out to you guys. I'd appreciate that. We are going to talk about Marvel Phase 4 tonight. And I know Paul got to see a sneak peek of Suicide Squad. So he wanted to do a spoiler-free review when he gets back. So, but again, I don't know if this is being a nice, simple broadcast or not. Let me look on my own phone here. And all right, it looks like things are going okay. So that's the best I can tell. So we're going to get started here. Paul looks like he's back.
Hello.
Hello, Paul. All right, we got some people watching, so we're going to get into it. What I was saying is I should do the proper opening. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 24 of Pop Go the Writers. That's right. We're getting up there now. And tonight we are going to talk about Marvel Phase 4, what we've seen so far, and where we're going with it, and where we think things may be affected. Paul, can you... I have a fan on here, but I don't know if it's affecting my sound quality. How am I sounding?
You are sounding okay. How about me?
You're good.
Okay, because I also have fans on here.
Yeah, it's freaking hot, folks.
Cheer for me, fans. So, and you forgot about one other thing we'll be doing tonight. Or
Your
rather, I'll be doing tonight.
Your spoiler-free review of Suicide Squad?
The Suicide Squad, which was introduced by a large athletic man named Josh Sierra, who's apparently in town for a wrestling match.
Okay.
John Cena. That's it.
That's a little different, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, that's what he did. He would I can see you, right?
You're not supposed to be able to, yeah. So, well, Paul, take it away with your review of the Suicide Squad without spoilers, since I haven't seen it.
Okay, so what happened is in the first minute, the short version is it was a raucous good time. There were a lot of laughs. There was a lot of blood. Body parts coming off, things exploding.
Besides Nathan Fillion's arms?
Huh?
Besides Nathan Fillion's arms?
Yes, besides Nathan Fillion's arms. And yes, it was very gory, and some of the laughs were entirely because you were like, oh my God, that's awful. But all in all, I really enjoyed it, which I'm never quite sure whether I am in that sort of humor. But yeah, I thought they were quite good. Even the wrestler guy. I don't know much about the wrestling. So...
who's getting his own spin-off TV series of it.
Yes, this is what I hear. The man in the toilet bowl helmet.
Yes, so how did you end up at a sneak peek?
Well, you see, I'm a manager for one of the 4 Comic City locations here in Michigan, and Comic City managed to get advanced preview passes being run by one of the local radio stations hosted it.
Nice.
So we did like a managers meeting where the owners of the company and all the managers went out and caught the Suicide Squad. I'm just going to say it was killer.
So you took this job for the tickets, and now that you had it, you're going to quit?
I didn't even, and I have to keep them because what if we get more for other?
Good point.
So I guess they're stuck with me. So,
yeah.
But let's carry on, Wayward Son, to the topics of which you spoke earlier.
Yes. All right, so let's take a look at Marvel Phase 4 so far. I figured I'll do a little recap, and then Paul can jump in, and we'll just go from there. Now, of course, we start Phase 4 with WandaVision. And can you believe that was only back in January? We're at this point, we've already had 1 movie and 3 TV series.
Yeah.
And it's only the end of July, or well, it's August now.
Yeah.
We've got another TV series starting up on the 11th. We got a movie out on the 17th or the 13th, September 3rd. We've got another movie in November, another one in December, and possibly 2 more TV series before the end of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But we go back to WandaVision, and while the series was quite good, it didn't do as much as some people expected it to. The expectation levels were really not set well for the series. And I think that isn't so much on Marvel as it is for guys like me, who spend all our time talking about the shows, because we looked at it as, oh my God, they're adapting this particular series. That means they're going to bring in Mephisto, and they're going to bring in this guy and that guy and these other things. And while I don't think I did as much of that as some websites, there was definitely way overhyped, and expectations were totally destroyed for the series, which I think was a detriment to a very good series. I think some people came out of the final a little disappointed, but it had nothing to do with the final. It had to do with the internet expectations.
And the other enemy, I know I'm interrupting your
That's
summing
fine.
up, but the other enemy of the that hyped up expectations was the pandemic.
Yeah.
We had gone so long without more Marvel that we were like, oh, this is going to just explode our brain.
I know. Well, it was Far From Home was the last Marvel thing we had, wasn't it?
Yep.
So we went all that time, and then and teases, and oh yeah, we're going to get Black Widow. We're going to get Black Widow. Da, 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 da. No, not for a while. Now, some of the things that WandaVision did do, which were important to the show and to the MCU, it introduced Sword.
Yep.
It ramped up Wanda's powers to a level that she's now the Scarlet Witch, and pretty much a threat level to Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Brought the Vision back. We didn't have a Vision. Even though that she recreated one, we didn't have one going into it. And so now we've got the white version without a personality or the Mind Stone, but we have a Vision. It introduced us to Monica Rambeau, who will be part of the Marvel series, the movie, excuse me. What else did it do? Gave us Billy and Tommy, who end up growing up to being heroes Wiccan and Speed, part of the Young Avengers, which may end up being a big part of the MCU going forward. And it gave us a lot of time with Darcy from the Thor movies and Jimmy Woo from the Ant-Man movies, to the point that people were talking about how they wanted a TV series just of those two running around solving cases. Now, the end credits was probably the biggest thing, in the fact that it completely connected to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, in that, it kind of set that door. It showed Wanda's power level with her using her astral projection to read while walking around drinking tea, and this, which is something even Doctor Strange couldn't do. He was unconscious when his astral projection goes out. So,
or was it vice versa? was the sitting drinking tea the astral projection while she was in reading the book?
Why would she sit and drink tea as an astral projection?
To make it look like there was normalcy going on.
Huh.
So if anybody was
Yeah.
watching the cabin, then they see, oh, it's just some lady up in a cabin.
I don't think it was. I think it's the other way around, but I think that's an interesting point. It could have been, but I wouldn't put money on it, but I think it's an interesting point.
Mm.
I do like the fact that when they did the whole pan in thing, the zoom in, that was pretty much a Sam Raimi move. We saw him do that in Evil Dead, where he's going through to the cabin and stuff like that. So I don't know if Raimi actually filmed it, but it was
slower.
What?
A little slower than a Raimi.
A little slower, yes. It was the transition.
Yes. Yeah.
To Raimi. So
gotcha.
That's why it's in a cabin in the woods.
No, that would be Whedon.
Raimi did Cabin in the Woods before. It may not have been called Cabin in the Woods.
Yes, but
Evil Dead took place in a cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
Okay, we're being semantic.
That's
true. And pedantic. And other words that I learned from the dictionary. All right. So from there we went on. Oh, what are your thoughts on WandaVision? And
I think it is. There was so much anticipation that I don't know if it would have been possible for it to fulfill all the what everybody was expecting from it. I mean, it was just, even me, I'm like, oh, it's going to introduce Mephisto, and then Kiss will show up, and Master Pandemic, Pandemonium, and I mean, there was just so much that everybody saw it, and they projected into it so much that that I don't think it could have fulfilled that promise. But even if it did nothing else, it introduced us to Catherine Hahn as Agatha.
Oh yeah,
Harkness, and just I swear, for that little clip of tune, it was almost worth like the entire series. Even if the rest of the series had been bad, which it was not.
Yeah.
I think just that moment of, and I killed Sparky.
I knew that woman killed Sparky. I was putting up the Justice for Sparky images out there. I was hitting those up online.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. But I thought it was much better than people. Some people loved it all to pieces, but I think it was much better than the detractors gave it credit for, simply because they had built it up so much. So I'm total agreement is what I'm saying.
I feel kind of weird about bringing this up, but what the hell is going on at Marvel? In the 60s, they spent a lot. They introduced a lot of characters that were these very wizened old women, like Aunt May and Agatha Harkness, and now they're casting people like Marissa Tomei and Catherine Hahn. I have some very confused feelings about this, and it's starting to worry me a little bit.
But when we were 12 and 13-year-olds,
yes,
or let's say 8 to 12-year-olds, and we saw Aunt May, we went, oh my gosh, she must be like in her 50s. Because that seemed old to us.
Yes.
And as we grew older, say to our 50s, we're suddenly like, no, that's really young. Young people are.
But Ditko
like
drew her like she was in her 70s and 80s.
Right. But of course, people aged quicker in the, like my grandmothers looked like Aunt May, and I think they were only in their 60s when they passed. So, we are definitely a more health conscious focused on relieving stress, eating better, that kind of thing, and I think that's why you got Hot May and Hot Agatha. Um, and who knows if Agatha? Well, of course, we also saw Agatha was occasionally consuming other witches'
Yes.
power, so I assume that that acted to keep her rejuvenated.
Yeah, that's a good possibility.
Yeah,
All right, let's move on from WandaVision.
sure.
By the way, anybody watching, please feel free to jump in with your comments. Let us know what you're thinking of these shows as we go through them, or your
We
thoughts
will
going
be
forward.
Happy to tell you you're absolutely wrong, or acknowledge that you're right.
That's right. They could be completely right if they agree with me. It's fine.
Right, exactly.
All right, so we go on to the second part of Phase 4, which was the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Right.
Now, this series feels like it was kind of playing in a completely different corner of the MCU from WandaVision.
Definitely.
And I think that's what's been really interesting is that we seem to be jumping around in these different playgrounds. And I see Phase 4 doing that at there's like 3 or 4 different areas we're playing with. And Falcon and Winter Soldier, which should have been just called Captain America, it's over here in this very grounded area.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel anything like WandaVision, which was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And it's funny for me to say that it's very grounded when we're talking about super soldiers, men in wingsuits and vibranium shields. But it's, it's what it is. Now, what this series succeeds in doing is it makes Sam's ascension to being the new Captain America not only make a lot of sense, but it feels like it's destiny. It's what it should have been. They do a good job with that. It helps Bucky move on from his past as the Winter Soldier. I think I would have liked it if that closing sequence, the title card, instead of it just being Captain America and the Winter Soldier, if it had been Captain America and the White Wolf or something like that, just to show the completion of both of their arcs. It gave us Sharon Carter as a new baddie, possible Skrull. Brings us the story of Isaiah Bradley, which is huge.
Yep.
But it also introduces us to Elijah Bradley, who ends up being the Patriot in comics, and to Joaquin Torres, who becomes the second Falcon.
Right.
And because of the pandemic and everything canceled or moving thing, it introduces us to Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine.
Saw an amazing Contessa Valentina
cosplay?
Allegra de Fontaine cosplay at the Gem City show
Nice.
last week. But it was really odd because it was just this like total svelte 60s spy thing going on, and then she had her kids running around with her, which hey, I'm Julia Louis has kids as well, but it's not something you associate with the Contessa.
Now, if you could just get her to do the dance like Elaine.
But yes, but it was nice to see that had kind of grabbed hold.
Nice.
And at first the lady was far enough away that I went, is that just a lady with her hair pulled back and dark glasses, or is that the Contessa? And eventually she circled around, and sure enough.
Yeah.
So.
Now, what also they did was they introduced us, of course, to the dark, since Val is collecting darker versions of our heroes, the new John Walker U.S. agent.
Yeah.
And we got to spend a lot more time with Baron Zemo, which was way more fun than we ever thought it would be. Daniel Bruhl nailed that character. It was a blast. My only negative thing about the entire show, and I know Paul doesn't like to hear negative things about Falcon the Winter Soldier or anything involving Captain America, is that you really could tell that there was a giant subplot chopped out of it and that story doesn't flow as nicely as it. They did a remarkable job giving us a story that makes sense, but there are huge parts where you're like, did you really hire this particular actress to just play a dead body? No, you hired her because she's a good actress. The Mama Danya thing was going to be a bigger storyline.
Yeah.
Completely taken out, the whole pandemic thing taken out. And it did negatively affect the series. Especially when it came to the Flag Smashers and Carly Morgenthal's motivation. But what about you, Paul? I know you are a Star-Spangled Man with a Plan.
I am, and I will concede that it was bumpier. But even with WandaVision, we lost an episode, so things wrapped up a little. You do have to make allowance for the conditions, and given those, I was pretty happy with things. By the way, I think that it should have been Captain America and Bucky, the no longer boy commando. Since they only really mentioned him being the White Wolf once in the thing, but it was so good that it was the story of two guys with a mutual friend who isn't there anymore, so we're just two guys. That's good. But the fact that really the mutual friend, the fact that they both loved Steve and he loved them in whatever way you guys people want to take it, was enough that they were willing to eventually acknowledge that they had a bond. Or not acknowledge that they had a bond, but
there was a boat montage. They've got a bond.
Yeah.
You don't go through a boat montage and not have a bond with somebody.
Plus, they had a catch.
Yes, they did. They did. They went full Field of Dreams.
Yep. Yep. If you throw it, they will fall. I thought it was really great, and I look forward to seeing the movie that comes after. I'll be curious to see if Bucky gets some sort of a costume upgrade, or if he, to move farther away from the Winter Soldier aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I still hope that Sharon isn't actually a baddie. But we'll see. We'll see.
She may not even be Peggy's real niece.
Yes, that's true.
Be all a lie, because it didn't come out that she was the niece until after Peggy was dead.
Dun dun dun.
That's right.
But yeah, the Elijah Bradley being introduced after Billy and Tommy. And again, I'm starting to get into this, like maybe the Young Avengers won't even be a thing till like Phase 6 or something.
When they're not really young anymore.
Yeah. But of course, as we go along, we keep getting introduced to new, younger versions of the character.
Oh yeah.
So it will be interesting, because as things are going, Sam will be kind of the Uncle Sam version. He'll be the older, more experienced, more mature guy when all these kids show up. So yeah, it had its weak points, as much as it pains me to say that. But Tour de Force by Wyatt Russell, for which he paid.
Yeah.
With abuse from the world at large.
Do you think that there is actually cut footage of the pandemic stuff that, do you think someday we might get restored subplot?
I doubt they'll restore it, but they may put it as extras on on the Blu-rays.
I don't think they're actually going to do Blu-rays, is what I'm hearing. I know that hurts for anybody who collects media.
Yeah, I like to own media because then it's mine, as
Yes.
opposed to having having to do the Adobe Photoshops or suite, Adobe design suite version. Hey,
Yeah.
no problem. As long as you keep kicking us the money, you'll be able to watch it.
Yep.
But yeah. So what are we hopping to next?
Well, the next thing up was Loki. So, and I think most people weren't really sure what the hell they were going to get with Loki. I mean, okay, why are he's dead. B, we're taking the 2012 version of him, who was just kind of a jerk and hadn't had any character growth, and we're going to go from that. It seemed like a really weird idea, but hey, we all love Tom Hiddleston, so let's do it. And that's pretty much what we had going into it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you mispronounce Sophie DiMartino?
I haven't even mentioned her yet.
Oh, you said some like Tom something. I don't even. Who's that? I just remember Loki from the series.
Yeah, we're still talking the early
Sylvie.
We're still talking the early stages before it came on. So
before I forgot all about him.
Right. So what we basically did was we took the Loki from 2012 that didn't have all the character growth of the one that died in Infinity War. We put him on a journey that would redeem him in the shortest way possible.
Yep.
Pushing him even further to the side of the light than the one that was in Ragnarok. But we also got introduced to the TVA, the Timekeepers, the very idea of the multiverse, and then blew it all apart to set up Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Which immediately made all of those insane rumors about Spider-Man No Way Home suddenly seem very plausible. We knew we were going to get Doc Ock and Electro from previous franchises, but there's all these other Spider-Man that are rumored to appear. And where before it's like, yeah, that's not going to. Oh, well, maybe it will.
Could happen.
Yep. But yes, we got introduced to Sylvie, and I'm not sure how much more of Sylvie we're going to get, because season 2 of Loki wasn't in the or wasn't agreed upon when they finished season 1.
Right. So
Kate Herod, the director, isn't coming back.
Yep.
She's on to other projects. Yep. Sophia DiMartino, who played Sylvie, learned that there was going to be a season 2 when it showed up in the end credits while she was watching it at home.
Or so she says. She is the goddess of mischief, after all.
No. She plays the goddess of mischief. She's an actress, Paul.
I don't understand. Let's go ask John Walker about this.
Yes. So, will she be back? Did she get destroyed with her actions? I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
We also got introduced to Kang the Conqueror in probably the best way possible by not giving us Kang. Yes. By giving us He Who Remains. So we don't we're not stuck with the, oh my God, it's Kang. Everything becomes about Kang. We've got the introduction of the idea of Kang, but there's a chance we're not going to see him again until Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Right.
Where he's scheduled to be the big bad. Or he may pop up in cameos a la Thanos,
Yeah. Although I was just thinking how different it was than the Thanos introduction. Because Thanos, we just kind of got this one kind of, image, like, oh, yeah, kind of thing. And those of us who knew it was Thanos are like, cool. But anybody who wasn't a comics person was just like, who's the purple guy with the chin?
Yeah. Well, if you think about it this way, they never say the name Kang. and we see the statue of him at the end.
Right.
We don't actually, we can tell it's a different costume, and we hear that he's a bad version of He Who Remains, but that's all we know. So anybody who doesn't know Kang.
Yeah, again, but we had that whole He Who Remains thing, which is funny and kind of manic and so completely unlike I expect Kang will be.
Right.
So it's kind of a treat to get that big introduction. We had a whole episode with him.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but I mean that's the thing, is that we're going to get a for anybody who's not familiar with Kang and Rama Tut and Immortus and stuff, they have no idea what's coming.
Exactly.
They know, oh, it's another version of that crazy guy at the castle.
Yep.
So that should be quite a shock.
The little hints of, oh, the scientist, the conqueror, the jerk,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm, I would not be surprised if we don't see him in, I keep wanting to say Mountains of Madness.
Because you're a Lovecraft fan.
Yes. Multiverse. If we don't see him in the Multiverse of Madness, we did get that tantalizing little snippet from Mobius about the Nightmare Division.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the Mephisto of this show.
I think we're going to get a more horror-based villain for Doctor Strange because of it being Sam Raimi and the fact that they have come out and said that it's going to be their horror movie.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, to be fair, it's not like Dormammu doesn't inspire a little fear.
True.
Right after his 2:00 show at SeaWorld. Thank you, Nathan Fillion.
Anyway, I do find it interesting that Loki kind of exists, and I was talking about this earlier, the grounded area, the mystical area, the cosmic area. Loki is kind of between the cosmic and the mystical, and that's kind of an interesting playground. And there's a lot of places that Kang could show up, like, think about in the Eternals.
Yeah.
They're going through all this time. What happens if they have a run-in with Rama Tut?
Yeah.
That would make sense. And you just have Jonathan Majors playing it, but you don't have to say what the connection is. You're just using the same actor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right,
yeah,
we're going to.
I think you make a good point, because in, of course, Avengers, no, it was in Thor, where he said, you think of science and magic as two different things, and we think of them as one thing.
Yeah.
And in that way, it was interesting that they went so sci-fi with Loki. And yet, to him, there's no difference.
There's no difference, and he's really jacked up both the cosmic side and the science, the mystical side.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is over there having a heart attack, going, "What did you do? What did you do?"
And Tom Hiddleston got a lot of opportunity to do his hair flip thing.
Yes.
And stand with his shoulders back as he.
By the way, if you'll notice, anytime Loki is knocked to the ground, he's always on his stomach, and he always does the hair flip.
Yeah.
When he looks up.
It's just really? It reminded me of something from the Black Widow. But
which is where we're going next.
There we go.
Yes, the first film in the new phase that got postponed over and over and over and over and over. So when it finally came out, it really didn't fit where it was supposed to be. But then again, it's a prequel, or it's a story that took place after Civil War, but before Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah.
So it was already out of place anyway.
Yeah. Well, it was just a, a casualty of the crumbling of the sacred timeline that it came out of place.
All right. We can go with that.
Yeah.
Now, this is the technical first appearance of Contessa Val, but it's not because she showed up in Falcon. So, but we, and we get introduced to Yelena Belova, who is likely going to be the new Black Widow.
Yep.
We get introduced to maybe my favorite new character in the MCU, Red Guardian.
Isn't it Crimson Dynamo?
No, it is Red Guardian. Also, there is Iron Maiden, who they only call Milena in the show. We get to meet Taskmaster, which is, in my opinion, the biggest waste of a great character since Mandarin.
Yeah. Well, although will it be a waste when we get Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
So I am holding out hope that there's going to be a Mandarin-like salvation for Taskmaster.
Yep. That somebody's going to grab that technology.
Yes.
And make use of it.
Yep. And of course, we got the most British mobster thug of a Russian leader in Dreykov.
Yeah. To be fair,
he wasn't even
Welsh, trying. But Wales is part of Britain, so. But yeah, it was just like some of the earlier stuff was okay if you like go back to watch it again. I'm like, okay, there's a little bit of Russian accent going on, and then towards the end, it's like,
yeah. When he was calm and cool, like in Cuba, wearing the tracksuit and the sunglasses, he was Russian. At the end, when he's getting upset at Natasha and trying to smack her around, Welsh. The Welsh came out.
It was, I like Ray Winston a lot, but it's like, ooh, voice or dialect coach.
When you want to turn to the guy and go, perhaps you should watch Hunt for Red October and see how Sean Connery did it. One ping only. Just one ping.
Oh, my goodness. Well, and again, it was every darn person who was Russian had some kind of a UK accent.
Yes. Yes.
Tim, oh, come on, Paul.
Sam
Tim
Neill.
Curry with his, his usual accent. And,
yeah.
Yeah. Sam Neill didn't sound terribly Russian, but he also didn't sound terribly Australian either.
No, true.
So that was, that was.
Speaking of Australia, on a complete side note, but it's my show, so I can take side notes. I finished Crime Scene Kitchen last night. Lisa and I got together and we finally caught the ending. And then the next thing on Hulu screen was this show called Harrow, which I had never heard of. It's an Australian TV show that stars, God forgive me for never getting his name right. Yes, Ian Griffith.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yes, as the exact same character from Forever. He's another forensic pathologist, but it's got a little bit of Dexter in it. So it's like, it's his character from Forever without the immortality, set up kind of like Quincy with a touch of Dexter. And you've got this series.
I saw Quincy a lot on Nick at Night.
Oh, yeah. So we got about 3 episodes in, and it's really good.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a new show to binge, Hulu, I think there's 3 seasons of it. I don't know if there's more, but Harrow.
Yes, so. I actually just saw that not too long ago. I didn't realize, I thought it was on Netflix rather than Hulu, but they all blend together after a while.
They do.
And then you're like going around trying to figure out which one did I see it on?
There is an app that I just downloaded tonight. My nephew was telling me about called Just Watch, where you
Oh,
can put
yeah.
in the name and it'll
Yep.
tell you where it is.
Yep. Yep. It's a glorious app. I heard about it on the Script Notes podcast with John August and Craig Mason
Mhm.
talk about it. And like if I would, I usually use my Roku for stuff, but if I use my smart TV, um, which I got after the Roku, um, it can literally, I can actually use, as long as I'm signed into the various services, I can go into Just Watch and it'll just take me to the appropriate service.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
fantastic. Little plug there. Just Watch. You could have had a full blown commercial in this space.
That's right. We are looking for sponsors.
So
All right.
your
Let's get
drinking's
back.
gotten out of control.
What?
Oh, different kind of sponsor. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah, no, I'm still drinking small amounts of water.
So, but what do you think about the fact that there are dozens of Black Widows out there now?
That's weird. Yeah, I mean, there was a few things about that movie that didn't make a lot of sense to me. And you would think with all the extra time, they might have shown it to some people and say stuff like, you know how at the ending there's a bunch of Black Widows and they go off with Iron Maiden and Run to the Hills and Red Guardian and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then she goes off and meets Ross. And then suddenly she's free with blonde hair. And what happened?
They specifically said, I mean, I read some interviews and they specifically said they were just trusting the viewers to go, she's Natasha, of course she got away.
Yeah, no.
Because they felt they had wrapped it up and they wanted to connect it to Infinity War, but they didn't want to like have wrapped it up, had the emotional um, resolution, and then go, and now we'll have a big fight scene where she gets away.
They didn't need to. She could have left all that stuff on the ground with a note stuck to it, hopped in the helicopter with everybody else, and go.
I agree. I that was one thing I did not understand why she needed to stick around to deal with Ross.
Yeah. So the fact that there's all these Black Widows out there now. I mean, if they would come out and say, "Well, we left that gap because we're going to do a Black Widow too," and I'd be like, "Okay, great, I'm up for that."
Seems unlikely now.
Well, no, it's okay. Let's address that. She is suing Disney. She's not suing Marvel, which I realize is the same entity from a corporate standpoint.
Yeah,
but Kevin Feige is totally backing her.
Right.
So,
yes, Marvel Studios is a division in the same way that Lucasfilms is.
Yeah.
Or that Warner Brothers Films is not the same as Warner Brothers Media.
Yes. And she has an absolute case to bring. And she's the canary in the coal mine in this case because all these other people now are coming out and suing too. Emma Stone, someone else who I can't remember, but a male actor.
Yeah, but the canary is actually over at DC. They're both tough women, but
yeah,
it must be the blonde hair at the end that threw you.
So, so she's suing, but she had the contract that said it would be a theatrical release.
Right.
And that and I'm told that there was something in the contract that if they tried to do the split thing, the day and date, that they would renegotiate, and they didn't. They did that for Gal Gadot and Patty Jenkins, who had those clauses in their contracts. They didn't with that was Warner Brothers. Disney should have. Emma Stone suing for the same reason.
Oh, for Cruella.
For Cruella, yeah. So I think this is going to be an important case for being able to do this going forward. But we shall see how it pans out.
Yeah.
But I don't think this would hurt her coming back as Black Widow.
Yeah, depends on how much the corporate muckety mucks, the overseeing Disney people might put their foot down.
James Gunn came back.
Yeah, it all depends, because James Gunn was booted mostly out of public perception,
right?
For his old remarks. Whereas
the bottom line is Disney's going to do what's going to make them money. And
well,
if you want to do and they made they made a boatload of money that first weekend on Black Widow.
They got 3 tickets worth out of me.
Same here.
Which means I still have to watch it one more time before it's in general release.
I've watched it twice, once with Lisa, and now her and her kids are going to watch it, so I think I'm covered.
Yeah. So well, of course, the kids only count as half in terms.
No, one's going to be 18.
Okay, then it's like 1.5. You're getting a tremendous value. It's like you went to a matinee.
Yep.
All
right, so finishing this up again. This movie was kind of in the grounded area of even though we are talking about a movie that ended with a midair battle among flying debris of a city.
Yep.
But it is the grounded one. And as much as I love Red Guardian, and as much as it was nice to see Scarlett Johansson get a starring role, the most important thing for Phase 4 was the end credit scene.
Yes.
Yelena at the gravesite. And I know a lot of people wanted a gravesite scene for Natasha. They didn't get that in Endgame. They felt cheated.
Right.
We got that for Tony. We didn't get that for her. So they got that. But we also got Val sending Yelena after Clinton Barton.
Which is
and saying that he's responsible for Natasha's death. And I think suddenly for a lot of people, the Hawkeye series became important.
Yeah.
Where before people were like, oh, he's just training his replacement.
Yeah.
And now it's like, good.
Oh, I was just saying, I think a lot of, that was not a turn I was expecting, because I thought it would, I didn't mind the idea of it focusing on the mentor-mentee thing. And I thought, particularly when it seems to be taking place, that it felt like it was going to be one of those, hey, you've got to teach me. And he was going to be a reluctant sensei kind of character. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm also, I'm curious to see the interaction between Yelena and Kate Bishop.
Mm-hmm. I think that's going to be interesting. I think it's nice that they actually addressed the Budapest thing.
Yes.
They finally Budapest.
Yeah.
Pest. Plus, we've got a running joke now.
I don't know why that cracks me up so much, but it was such a nice bit.
It was, and it was just the right humor at the right time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
What we've got coming up is just a ton of new material. And it starts with what might be the strangest thing, which is the animated What If series.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are going to overlook this series because it being animated.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to think it's important. And a lot, and Kevin Feige, he's like, yes, it exists outside. And I think they're going to go out of their way to make sure if you don't watch it, you're okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily completely detached either.
Yeah.
I think that there's two ways that this is going to, that it could help the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm.
And the first way is it's going to really open up the idea of the multiverse by showing us all these new versions of these characters. You know, we're going to get the Super Soldier version of Peggy Carter. We're going to get the Star-Lord version of T'Challa. We're going to get, Killmonger as the King of Wakanda. All these different versions. A Spider-Man that kills zombies. A darker Doctor Strange. And I think what this is going to do, and there's a chance that some of these characters, and there's been some rumors that these characters may actually show up in Doctor Strange. The one that I've heard rumors of, and I can't verify it, again, take this with a huge grain of salt, is Captain Karger, Carter,
Mm-hmm.
the super soldier version of Peggy Carter. There's a chance that people are saying that she's going to show up in Doctor Strange. Well, if she shows up and they give you a 10-second reason for it, then you'll accept it. But if you've got the backstory, that's even better, right? You're going to know who she is going in.
Right. Perhaps Captain Carter was the Peggy we saw in the background of the Loki series at the Time Variance Authority.
The director came out and said no, that it wasn't her.
And no one associated with the Marvel project has ever fibbed before.
Nope. Just like Jonathan Majors said, he had no idea what they were talking about when they asked if he was going to be on Loki.
Yeah.
Hey, Cody, how you doing? Why are you mowing a lawn on a Sunday night, man? That's just bad timing.
Well, we don't know it's Sunday night where Cody is.
Okay.
Could be in New Zealand or something.
You're 100% correct, because Monday morning mowing makes a lot of sense too. You're sharp, Paul. You're sharp.
Yes.
Like a butter knife. Yes. But the way I see the What If series is kind of like Crisis on Infinite Earths. Mm-hmm. The What If series is going to show us the absolute wildest possibilities of what could be out there in the multiverse. And Cody's in Nebraska. Thank you. And, well, it shows us this. When this is all said and done, and I don't think they're going to stick with the multiverse being existing. Eventually, they're going to kind of squish it back down. At least I think. But they could make changes. They could bring people back to life. They could change actors. They can do all this stuff because of the existence of the multiverse if they switch it back down like Crisis did. And then you can explain and people will be more accepting of the changes because they'll get the concept. And I think that's what What If is really meant to be, is the introduction of the idea in a bigger way and introducing these more extreme versions than you'd get from just watching the movies.
Right. I think you're right. It just gives them an opportunity to play. They can kind of, not like they didn't indulge themselves with Loki.
Right.
But it gives them the chance to really, just kind of go, oh, you thought that was wild? Yeah, hold my beer.
Yeah, exactly. And we know this is going to be a multi-season show, right? Because they said they're going to do one for every Marvel movie, and they're only doing 10 episodes in the first season. Mm-hmm. Word is they've already started production on season 2, and that it's likely Haley Atwell will be back for season 2. Nice. That came out of a press tour today. So,
yeah, for her show as Agent Carter as opposed to for the movie roles.
She'll be back in the second season of What If.
Yes, but I mean, see, they're including her in all the movies, but they're counting Agent Carter, I'm sure, as one. Uh,
Oh, I see what you mean. They're counting Agent Carter and all that stuff as one of the multiverse. It's going to be interesting to see what we end up with afterwards because of all the talk about bringing some of the Netflix characters over. I think they do need to address these series that were originally said to be part of the universe and have some tangential connections. And then suddenly you go, nope, they didn't exist.
yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Well,
I mean,
same thing with the ABC Agents of Shield, and because I mean, whether it was the same Phil Coulson was there, and
yeah.
he was killed by Loki. And sorry, spoilers, we didn't run the spoilers banner today.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I mean, it's weird to just kind of go like, don't pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
It sort of didn't happen. Well, if you sat through all the seasons and for example, loved Ming Na Wen as Agent Melinda May, you don't want to hear that it didn't really happen.
Oh yeah. And then, but they did that for so long. You look at a show like Cloak and Dagger, which was on Hulu,
right?
But there's a direct reference in it to the Luke Cage series.
Yeah.
The cop in that is referencing Misty Knight.
Right.
So it's like all of this was supposed to be connected. I think Marvel at least owes the fan acknowledgement of the existence.
Yeah.
And if you want to change it going forward, that's fine. That's what you've got this multiverse of madness to do. But
yeah. And Runaways was on Freeform. But again, supposed to be, the mantra was it's all connected.
Exactly.
So if you're going to change how it's all connected, that's fine. But going like,
but then again, it was always Jeff Loeb saying it was all connected, and I believe Kevin Feige has erased him with the multiverse.
It's possible.
Cody asks, I'm excited. He says, I'm excited to see what they do with the X-Men. Have they landed on casting for Fantastic Four? I think Emily Blunt as the Invisible Woman and John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. Thoughts? I don't think we're going to get anything with the X-Men in this phase because Kevin Feige has come out and said so.
Yeah.
And there's just too much going on, and we'll get into that as we go along. But I think the groundwork for the X-Men is being done right now. I think that's one of the things that could come out of the What If series and the Multiverse of Madness is the ability to bring in an entire group of people like mutants and work it in and not have to go back and say, well, they were here during Ultron and they were over here during the attack of New York. You get to kind of brush that all under the rug by saying, well, they didn't exist until we switched the multiverse back down.
Yeah. Or, maybe we'll get something in the Eternals that acknowledges the idea that there are enhanced races on Earth. And that maybe it'll turn out that mutants have something to do with the Celestials and the Eternals tinkering.
Yes, which they do in the comics.
And maybe the snap and the blip, like activated, some. And so it'll be interesting. I don't have any trouble, by the way, with Emily Blunt and John Krasinski as the Richardses.
Yes.
Although usually Reed is a good chunk older than Sue.
Yeah, but they don't have to. We kind of talked already about Aunt May being a tad bit older. So usually older than Tony Stark at least, and they're the same age. So
Yeah. Yeah. But,
but
well, frankly, Emily Blunt and John Krasinski as anybody,
yeah,
pretty good casting.
yeah, and I think that's been so. I don't know if Marvel will do it just because everybody's trying to get them to, and they tend to go with the casting they want. You know,
Right.
they kept going back to Chris Evans, even though they had Krasinski, they had Chris Pratt tried out for Captain America. They had a lot of different actors, and they went back and back and back, kept going back to Evans. Or with Doctor Strange, they couldn't get Cumberbatch for a long time. They went to talked to these other people, but they always came back to Cumberbatch. So if Blunt and Krasinski are who they want, then I think they'll turn hell and high water to make it happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, we can't really tell what they're going to do. But I have yet to see any real bad casting come out of Marvel.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Anybody,
even the ones who have been replaced.
Yeah.
Even Ed Norton, Terrence Howard. It wasn't that they were bad actors.
Yeah.
It's not that they did a bad part. It was behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
So, no, Marvel is great with casting, and I'm sure whoever they come up with is going to be good. Would I like to see those two? I think they'd be great.
Yeah.
I became a John Krasinski fan watching Jack Ryan.
Not The Orifice?
I don't like sitcoms, and I have not watched The Office.
I don't like the mockumentary or whatever they call it format. So I'm also not an Office.
But if you are a fan of The Office, then we already have John Krasinski in the MCU as Agent Wu.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I wonder when they'll start skewing younger with their casting of the main, because what's it been, 2008? So it's been 12, 13 years now. So I think that they may start casting to people that are the age that first batch of actors was, rather than more contemporary.
Well, they say Kaylee Stenfield playing Kate Bishop. Haley is the same age now that Scarlett Johansson was on Iron Man 2.
Well, there you go.
So, all right. And I'm going to address Fantastic Four specifically at the end of this because I think that there's a big thing coming with the FF. But yes. But, of course, the next movie we're going to get is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, due out September 3rd. Now, I'm not exactly sure where this is going to fit in the MCU right now. We're talking about a martial arts film that also has live dragons. And we're getting an appearance of the Abomination, but also Wong. So this movie could be dancing the line between the somewhat more grounded and the more mystical. But my guess is that other than introducing us to the new characters and supporting cast, plus giving us a real version of the Mandarin, I don't think the film is actually going to greatly affect the Phase 4. I think it's more of an introductory movie. Maybe it gives us little teases of things, but overall, I think they're just going to focus on just creating the movie. How it fits in the bigger picture may be dealt with later on. But the one thing it could do is it could reintroduce some characters that Marvel can play with later on. There's been a lot of reports that some of the characters from Marvel Netflix series will be returning, with Kingpin is supposed to pop up in Hawkeye. Kristen Ritter and Charlie Cox are supposed to be popping up in She-Hulk. Charlie Cox is supposed to be in Spider-Man. So we're hearing these rumors, and we know that Feige had certain actors he really loved. Those plus John Bernthal as a Punisher from the Netflix series, but he didn't really talk. He's never really said anything good about Iron Fist and Luke Cage, and he didn't say anything bad. He just didn't talk about them. But being that this is a martial arts tournament, and we're going to get the Abomination and Wong, having Kun Lun send somebody to the martial arts tournament and giving us a cameo of Iron Fist with a new actor or Finn Jones would be interesting. They could do that especially with a new actor, you don't even have to cast the actual actor. You just need to show a guy in the yellow mask with the dragon tattoo on his chest, and we'll all know it's Iron Fist without having to really spend time, but it just kind of acknowledges that character is back.
Yeah.
And then we'll see more of him later, maybe in Shang-Chi too.
Although at least where we left it, which I know isn't canon, but at least where we left it, there was no Kunlun to send anybody.
Right.
Spoilers.
Yeah. Or they could send Colleen Wing if they liked Jessica Henwick's character, but didn't like Finn Jones. They could have sent her since she had, or they could ignore all that and send a completely new Iron Fist.
Pardon me.
But that's the thing with what happened with Loki is you can make these changes now.
Yeah. Yep.
The door is now open. Your thoughts on Shang-Chi? Do you think it's going to be more the mystical? Do you think it's more the grounded?
I think that it's definitely going to cross over that, but I think that they're going to have a heightened amount of mystical stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. And let's not forget the dragons are supposed to be aliens.
Well, sure.
And the rings are alien origin.
Yeah, because that's the origin of the Mandarin.
Yep.
But yeah, I still think that they will focus on. And again, though, we know magic and science are not necessarily all that far apart.
Right. At least in the Marvel Universe.
Yes. In the MCU, yeah. So I'll be interested to see the ramifications, how it cascades out. But because it's one of the projects that feels like it's an attempt to tweak and adjust earlier steps or missteps in the MCU,
right,
that people were unhappy with, so they went they went one way. But I think they'll I think it'll be more than just a martial arts movie. To be honest, including the Abomination makes it feel kind of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, which is why I think they could do something like throw Iron Fist in there.
Yeah,
and they could throw Electro, members of the Hand. I mean, it could be a cameo galore of martial arts characters.
Yeah,
if they really wanted to play with it that way. The
sons and daughters of the Tiger, the White Tiger.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting. There were, there were quite a few, and of course, hand-to-hand combatants in the Marvel Universe are some, the superior hand-to-hand combatants that are not necessarily entirely super.
Yes.
But
now, also what we've got coming up, we've got 2 more Marvel series for Disney Plus that Victoria Alonso has said are going to be out this year.
Right.
Now, that's going to be kind of interesting because they announced Hawkeye is coming out November 24th, I believe. Which means that it could run to the end of the year, and that's fine. And with how long What If is running, they could squeeze Miss Marvel in that gap. Mm-hmm. But then again, what do you do with Book of Boba Fett? Does that get bumped? Do you start doing 2 series at once? I mean, eventually they're going to have to, because
maybe they're going to shift the Marvel series to Wednesdays like they did Loki, and do the Star Wars series on Fridays.
Well, what they did was they came out and said that all of their premiere series are going to be on Wednesday from now on,
mm-hmm.
and all of their movie releases will be on Friday.
Okay.
So that, to kind of control the amount of people hitting the streaming service. But both Book of Boba Fett and Hawkeye would be considered premium series. So what we're supposed to get out of Hawkeye, of course, to see what's going to happen with Yelena Belova, we're going to introduce Kate Bishop, but also there's the rumor of Kingpin showing up, and we're going to get introduced to the character of Echo. Now, Echo's interesting because there's already talk about an Echo series. She's a former love interest of Daredevil. So if you do an Echo series, Kingpin and Daredevil in there would make a lot of sense. Her power base is very similar to Taskmaster in that she can mimic anybody's fighting style. So to introduce her so close to introducing Taskmaster is kind of interesting. But on top of all that, you've got your first deaf superhero played by an actress who's hearing impaired.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I think it's a really good idea. And I'm really looking forward to it. But then also you get Kate Bishop, who's part of the Young Avengers, who is one of the people that helped found the Young Avengers. Add her with Wiccan, Speed, Patriot. Even you could borrow Kid Loki because he's in the Young Avengers at one point. You've got Cassie Lang in the upcoming Ant-Man movie. Yep. You're getting the Young Avengers whether we think we're going to or not.
Right.
And
Cox, by the way.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
And also, a lot of the original Avengers are dying or retiring. You know, we've already gotten rid of Iron Man. We have a new Captain America. Hawkeye is retraining his replacement. Black Widow's gone. We have a new one for her. Thor is still around, and when you say, well, and Hulk, but we're about to get a She-Hulk. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm so confused because Tatiana Maslany isn't a huge woman, and how can she be She-Hulk? You know, she's not gigantic like how did his name go out of my head?
I know what you're talking about.
Bruce Banner.
Yes.
Mark
Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yes.
I just people griping about that or going like, oh, we need this wrestler lady because she's got giant muscles, and it's like, do you not know how they make movies now?
Yeah. John Bernthal going to return as a Punisher? That's still rumor mill. He's one of the actors from the Netflix series that Kevin Feige said he particularly liked, and it's a popular opinion that he's coming back. Will he? We'll have to see.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit. We only got about 15 minutes left, but we got Miss Marvel, which is going to be interesting because the character is going to end up in the Marvel series. She's another one that could end up as the Young Avengers, but she's an Inhuman, and we know how badly the Inhumans were mishandled by Marvel Television a few years ago, and they were heavily tied to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
So will they continue with her being an Inhuman? Will they suddenly make her an Eternal? Will they make her a mutant to kind of pretend the Inhumans never existed? How are they going to deal with that? That's going to be the big...
Totally rewrite the Inhumans via the multiverse.
Yes. So it's going to be really interesting. And how much do they want to mess with this when you have all these other storylines going on and Secret Invasion coming up?
Yep. Maybe she's half Skrull.
Could be. So,
yeah.
So we've got those series that are going to come out. We've also got the Eternals coming out, which is another movie that I think is going to pretty much focus on just creating this franchise, because it's an eon-spanning history, and where they could have certain things pop up like cameos, and you got two potential Avengers in it, in Cersei and the Black Knight. Overall, I think they've got so much to do in this movie that you're not really going to get a chance to change the MCU that much, other than the establishment of the MCU, the history. But I don't think it's going to directly affect Kang unless we get a Rama Tut type cameo. I don't think it's going to affect the Dark Avengers storyline that seems to be building, or it's more of the cosmic playground with Celestials and stuff like that. So that should be interesting.
I'm really looking forward to that one just because it feels like such a question mark.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to walk in there not knowing what to expect, like with Loki. And I think we'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing we get at the end of this year is Spider-Man No Way Home, which, if even an eighth of the rumors that are true, if the eighth of the rumors that have been hearing about this movie are true, then it's going to be absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah.
We know this is the first place we're going to see the fallout from Loki. We know we're getting the actual Doc Ock from Spider-Man 2. Alfred Molina is coming back, and he has flat out said it's the same character. He's literally picking up from the end of Spider-Man 2. We're going to get Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, played by Jamie Foxx. Now, those are confirmed. Now, having to do with other things like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Charlie Cox, Willem Dafoe, those are all speculation and rumors. But then again, we do have J. Jonah Jameson back. So
it's true.
And we're going to be dealing with the fact that Spider-Man was outed thanks to Mysterio. So you've got all that coming into this film, what they're going to deal with. Plus, Sony wants Marvel to set up connections to Venom and Morbius, but still leave Peter squarely in the MCU. So I think this is just going to be a crazy movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they've got so much they're going to try to get done in this movie, and I don't even know if we're going to get a finish to it, if it's just going to carry over and go see Doctor Strange, you'll get the rest of it. Plus, Doctor Strange is supposed to pop up, too.
Yeah. As opposed to Mysterio as the ersatz Doctor Strange last time around. Like, oh yes, I am a wizard. You can tell I've got this hat. Well, fishbowl.
Yes, it's my crystal ball.
Yes,
it's just the easiest place to carry it. Now, we're not done with Phase 4. Nope. This is just Phase 4 for this year. We still have Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Secret Wars, all expected to air in 2022, plus second seasons of Loki and What If. And unscheduled, we have Ironheart, Armor Wars, and the rumored Echo series. Putting the TV aside, we've got Thor Love and Thunder on May 6th of 2022, Black Panther Wakanda Forever on July 8th, 2022, The Marvels, November 11th, 2022. Swing around to 2023, we've got Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania on February 17th, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th. And then, and all of that, we still have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness on the 25th of March 2022. That is going to have Wanda and Loki and Sam Raimi as the director. Wong's coming back. Christina Palmer's coming back. Mordo's coming back, who's just hunting wizards now. And we're going to be introduced to yet another young hero who could pop up in Young Avengers, America Chavez, who happens to have the ability to punch holes between multiverses, which might come in handy. That's all Phase 4, plus Blade and Fantastic Four are somewhere unannounced at the end of that.
It's and you think of how, like Phase 1, it's like, what, 6 movies?
Yeah,
now
2 Iron Mans, a Thor, Captain America, and then a 5.
5, yeah. Boy, they are just, wow. I mean, so much stuff.
Oh, yeah.
If you had told me back when I was a little kid that, that there was going to be television, I would have been
combustion
surprised.
Indians and.
But yeah, just the idea of the wealth of Marvel stuff, is just mind-boggling. So yeah, I'll be curious to see how it all plays out and interconnects. But I didn't realize I'd forgotten Multiverse of Madness is that far out.
Yeah, it's not till March of next year.
Yeah, Yeah. And I thought for some reason I was thinking Quantum Mania was going to be sooner than that, but
Nope.
yeah, I mean, there's just so much stuff.
Yep. I think that I truly think that Multiverse of Madness will end with the multiverse issue being controlled. Don't know if it's solved, but at least it won't be as in crazy. But I think the whole Kang thing, Kang won't even show up. If maybe a cameo in Multiverse, we won't get a good thing with Kang until Ant-Man 3.
Yeah, yeah,
So that's why I think we're going to get either Nightmare or Shuma Gorath, or at least a character more tied to stuff like the Darkhold for Doctor Strange,
right.
you know, and that we're going to leave all the Kang stuff until Ant-Man 3, and then what I think will be Fantastic Four, I think will be Kang as well.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I say that is that if you look at Kevin Feige, he's got these patterns where he likes to end phases with big group team movies.
Right.
You know, phase 1 ended with the Avengers. Phase 2 ended with the Age of Ultron. Now, phase 3 technically ended with Spider-Man Far From Home, but that was more of an epilogue to me.
Right.
Endgame really ended phase 4 or 3. So to me,
Right.
where Blade might end phase 4 technically the same way, I think the end of phase 4 is going to be the Fantastic Four. And I think that Quantum Mania will lead into the Fantastic Four. I think if they're going to introduce the characters anywhere before a Fantastic Four movie, it would be in Quantum Mania.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe the FF get their powers similar to, actually, wasn't it in the uh, Ultimate and the awful movie FF? Didn't they get their powers crossing dimensional boundaries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think there is another place it might work. So I think my gut says that they're adrift in the quantum realm and they'll get saved somehow, and that's how we'll meet them. The other possibilities, and it exists. I don't know, but they could be introduced in the Marvels movie as the missing astronauts that we were talked about in WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two places, or the astronauts could be in the quantum realm. So that still could work there too. But I think that the Fantastic Four is going to be the big Phase 4 ending. I think it'll be the end of the Kang storyline, because as much as I think Kang is a huge villain, I don't think we're going to get a 3-phase villain again.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've got too much going on. I think they're going to have to wrap up Kang. Then we're going to end up dealing with whatever Val's putting together. Maybe we build towards a Dark Avengers Thunderbolt storyline for Phase 5. And then Phase 6 is a Celestial or Galactus thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, I don't think we're going to get, a multi-phase villain again. But there's always the possibility I'm wrong and we're going to end up with Kang War. But how much do they want to? I don't know how much Marvel is going to want to focus on the multiverse and all of the craziness that's involved, because not all the fans are going to like that. Some of the fans, they want the more grounded movies or the more sci-fi movies or the more mystical, where you've got these big things and they seem to affect everything. It may be overload. And I think where they could get away with it for a phase to build up to it, I think if they keep it going for too long, you're going to start losing people.
Right. And one of the great things is that they've managed to allow for different tones.
Yes.
That we could have Ant-Man as a sci-fi heist movie,
Right.
or a heist sci-fi movie, where you could have Winter Soldier as 70s espionage feel to it, without yeah, once you start narrowing it down, uh, well, of course, they were doing the Infinity Stones for, as you say, 3 phases.
Yeah,
But they may figure out a way to do it because the Infinity Stones was playing out while they were doing Ant Man, while they were doing Winter Soldier.
true.
So, I have a hard time putting it past them to find a way to pull it off.
Yeah.
Um,
By the way, I disagree that they were doing the Infinity Stones during Phase One
okay.
because I think it was more of a retcon thing. They got to Phase Two and they went, "Did somebody just put Thanos on screen?" Because that wasn't part of the plan. That was something that Joss Whedon did because he wanted to put Thanos on there. It
Hmm.
wasn't part of the overall plan. Fahey looked at that and then started thinking, well, we could do the Infinity Stones. And then he looked back and went, well, we introduced the Cosmic Cube here. What if that was. So it was kind of a retro thing.
Gotcha. Yeah. But they did carry it off over.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They made it work.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bottom line. That should be like if there was the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they made it work. That could be
Tim Gunn presents the history of the MCU. They made it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing what they've pulled off.
Yeah.
And you can speculate like we just did through this whole episode. But the bottom line is Marvel's going to do what Marvel's going to do. And the odds are we're going to shell out our money and we're going to watch it.
Yep.
And we're going to
they're
enjoy
going
it.
They're going to keep surprising us.
Yes.
When we think they're going to zig, they're going to zag.
Exactly.
So.
But nowadays they're going to zag, and they're just zigging.
Yeah. 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 But I think we've got just enough time. What is the thing that you're most anticipating in the upcoming movies or shows?
It changes a lot. Right now, I'm really fascinated by Shang-Chi to see what's going to happen there. But Ant-Man and the Wasp is probably the one that has got most of my attention right now.
Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
How about you?
For me, actually, weirdly, it's Moon Knight. Because I'm very curious how deeply they're going to play the
psychological aspects.
Not called multiple personalities anymore, but how much they're going to play that up, and how much they're going to connect to the Egyptian mythology, since rumors are that their Eternals is going to tie in with the Greek myths, and we already have the Norse myth. So I'm wondering whether they'll introduce Heliopolis and the Egyptian gods.
I actually think they're going to go deep into that. Let me see if I can find out.
2 minutes. 2-minute warning.
Typing.
That's good. It's a change for you.
Yeah. That's not who I thought it was going to be. I thought the director brought in is a guy who's known for doing Egyptian stuff.
Ah, interesting. But not so much. Steven Soderbergh?
Aaron Moorhead.
Oh.
Or maybe it's the writers that are working on it. But there is some kind of Egyptian connection to the people working on it. So it's going to be, they're going to lean into that, I think.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
All right. I think that wraps it up. Anything you want to let the fans know or the viewers know about?
I am now Eisner losing writer Paul Story. My condolences to the whole team of John Carpenter's Presents Storm Kids Stanley's Ghost. Congratulations to Ben Passmore for Sports as Hell, which won Best Single Issue Story. And it's really a trip to hear Phil Lamar read your name out loud, even if you don't win.
Oh, I bet.
Oh. How
That's
about
pretty
you?
cool.
Anything to plug?
I do. I actually have something to plug. If you were aware of the new beta thing going over at Amazon, they're doing the Kindle Vella. We
Yeah.
talked about it last week with Dan Taylor and Rosalinda Diaz. There, where you can use the Kindle app on your devices to read books chapter at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a Vela book going on now. The first chapter is up. It's free to read. It's called the Ember Crest Protocol.
Ah.
And it's the best way to describe it. Well, let me actually read you the quick synopsis for it. The Cold War rages on as both sides try to control the proliferation of magic into the world. But when one of America's best seekers goes missing, it's up to Jonathan Blazak to figure out what powerful artifact has surfaced and either recover it or destroy it before the Soviet Union can weaponize it. His only lead is Symphony Scherzo, a young research assistant who doesn't know that magic is real or that she is now the central figure in a world-changing battle between nations. So this is basically a 1970s spy thriller with magic, done kind of James Bond-esque. So it's going to have that 70s feel to it. And it kicks off with the first chapters up there right now. So
go, find, do, read, enjoy.
The Ember Crest Protocol, which is about as 70s spy thriller of a name as I could think of.
Yes, yes.
So, all right, everybody. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for the likes and the we got a heart. We actually got a love. Oh, thank you.
Who did we get a love from?
Melanie McRae.
Thank you, Melanie.
Mm-hmm. But thank you all for watching. Please join us back here next week where we'll come up with another topic as we wait for what is to kick off. And
maybe Dan will have watched Suicide Squad and we can talk about that.
Absolutely, yes.
Which would be weird since mostly we've been focusing on Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah, no, it'd be good to do DC. I'm looking forward to it, and I love James Gunn work. So, also, I will be on this week with the Dan Wickline show. I have no idea who I'm going to have on yet. I'm still working that out, but we will find out. Paul will be at Comic City,
West Bloomfield.
And you can go by and see him and pick up all your books.
Yes, indeed.
So,
and you can find me online at Storyville, STORRIEVILLE, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and at Storyville.com.
And I'm Dan Wickline on everything. So, by the way, Paul, do you guys have pull lists at Comic City?
We do indeed. If you go to ComicCity.com and click the subscription link, you can build your own pull list online and manage it online so that you don't have to call or come into the store every time you want to add or delete a...
That is the best way to make sure you don't miss out on the books you want. So
exactly.
All right, folks, going to wrap it up here. Thank you all again for joining us. Have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday here on Pop Go the Writers.
Writers.
Good night, everybody.